Today, we're jumping into two ideas that are honestly at the very heart of doing social work research the right way. We're talking about power and positionality. Think about it. They are pretty simple words, right? But it really gets to the core of what we're talking about today. That difference in what people see. It's not random, it's about who we are. And when it comes to research, you have to understand this if you want to do work that's not only accurate, but also ethical and respectful.
So here's the big takeaway right up front. There is no such thing as a totally objective researcher. It's just not possible. Our identities, experiences, the lives we've lived, all of it shapes the work we do. It changes the questions we even think to ask, who we decide to listen to, and even the conclusions we end up drawing.
Okay, so to totally get a handle on this, let's start by defining a really important term. Let's break down exactly what positionality means. So positionality, that's the word for this thing we've been circling around. It's about recognizing that your specific spot in society, things like your race, your gender, your class, all of it gives you a unique lens. It's the viewpoint you see everything through.
Okay. A really good way to think about it is like this. Imagine we're all wearing glasses with a special tint. My tint is going to be different from your tint. Maybe my tint helps me see things crystal clear, but it might make other things blurry, or I might not see them at all. And that's true for everybody.
Let's make this real. Say we've got a study on poverty. A researcher who comes from a middle-class background, they might naturally focus on the big picture data, budget numbers, systems, statistics. But a researcher who's actually lived through poverty, they might zero in on something totally different, like the daily strategies for survival or the emotional toll it takes. Look, neither of these are wrong, but they're definitely incomplete without each other.
Okay, so if we're all seeing the world through a different lens, that leads us right to our next big idea, power. We have to ask ourselves whose lens gets to define the reality we're studying.
In the world of research, power can be kind of sneaky. It's not always loud. It's the power to decide which questions are important enough to even ask in the first place. It's the power to say, this kind of knowledge is valid, but this kind isn't. And in the end, it's the power to write the final story. As the researcher, you need to know when you're walking into that room, you have a whole lot of power.
This quote from Linda Tuhawaii Smith, a Maori scholar, is just so powerful. It's a reminder that for a long, long time, research has been something done to people, especially marginalized communities. It was about extracting information, not collaboration. Understanding our own power is really the first step to finally changing that dynamic.
So what do we do? If we all have a unique positionality and we all have some kind of power, what's the next step? Well, the answer is a practice called reflexivity. Reflexivity is all about actively looking inward, and it's not something you do just once and check it off the list. No, this is a constant process of holding up a mirror to yourself and asking that really critical question over and over. How is my background, my lens, showing up in this work right now?
And this isn't just some vague idea, it's a real tool you can use. When you're first designing your study, ask, are my own assumptions coming through in these questions? When you're out in the community gathering data, stop and ask, whose stories am I hearing the most of? And who could I be leaving out? And then when you're looking over your results, ask yourself, is my own experience coloring how I see this?
Let's go back to our example, but this time with a study on homelessness. Researcher A has always had a home. Researcher B has actually experienced homelessness. You can bet their backgrounds will probably lead them to focus on different things, and that's the point. Knowing this doesn't make the research weaker. It actually makes our collective understanding of the issue so much richer and more complete.
And this is so important. For way too long, the goal of research was to pretend you were this totally neutral observer, which we now know is impossible. The real gold standard today is being transparent. Recognizing your tinted glasses actually makes your work stronger, more honest, and a whole lot more credible.
Okay, so let's bring this on. What does all of this actually mean for you as a social work researcher? How do you put this into practice? Look, ethical practice is everything. It's the foundation. It means you have to be honest about who you are. It means you have to name your biases out loud. It means you have to work hard to recognize and balance power with the people you're working with. And it means you use what you know to call out and challenge those old unjust assumptions that have been hanging around research for far too long.
Let's be super clear here. The goal is not to be neutral. That's a myth. The real goal is to be honest, to be constantly reflexive, and to make sure that everything we do is pointed toward justice.
So, as we wrap up, we want to leave you with a couple things to think about. First, seriously take a minute and think about it. How does your own unique story, your background, shape what you see as the biggest problems in social work?
Speaking about power again, when you walk into a community or any research space, what power do you just automatically have because of who you are and the role you're in?
And that leads to the biggest question of all, right? How are you going to intentionally and thoughtfully use that power in a way that's ethical, that's fair, and that's just? Because when you boil it all down, it's this simple.
Positionality is the lens you can never take off.
Power is always in the room.
And justice?
Justice starts when we decide to be accountable for both of those things.
Thanks for listening.